Do you believe that women who are married with children should work?
Well, I've been in the workplace my whole career. I have two amazing biological children, and then I have a niece daughter that my husband and I took in when she was 17, and she's in her 30s now and has a son. And I've been in the workplace my entire career. And listen, I'm a big advocate for women who decide to stay home. I have friends that are on the opposite spectrum of I am. I think every woman with her husband and her God's counsel should make their own decision about what's best for them. My path was very aggressively chosen in terms of career development. But I can tell you, Jesse, my adult children, I have my 30-year-old in LA and my 36-year-old here in Austin, and then our 36-year-old niece. They will all tell you that mom is always front and center. I'm the matriarch of the family. You know, they know that I will drop everything to make them priority. And I even tell a story in the book when I was in the White House working long hours of my girl in 8th grade, and the trauma she was going through, and how I literally almost resigned to the president so that I could focus on her. And my boss said, no, you're not doing that. We're going to give you an accommodation. Do what you need to do to take care of her. But I think moms have a great responsibility to put their family first, Jesse.
Yeah.
I see so many women that are so aggressive about their career and killing it. And then their family is like a bunch of dead bodies on the trail. And, you know, I personally know there's issues that come up for working women that are challenging, but I have been really blessed with a wonderful husband who helps me balance it all out and who is a contributor in our marriage. He's not just a bystander. So between he and I, we divide and conquer and make a great team to raise our family.
But if a woman is married and she can afford not to work, do you believe she should work or do her duty and stay home and raise the man's children?
I think every woman should make her own decision about what her career path needs to be or what her home path needs to be. If there's a mutual in our home, my husband, when he married me, I was already working for Ann at the time in the state treasury department. He also had a career. I think we have to make decisions as a couple. You know, I think married people have to make those family decisions together through lots of deliberation and prayer, and then making the right decision for the child, right? If you have a woman who's at home or who's working and has a child who's having problems in school and they can't control them, well, maybe there needs to be a little bit of a pause to focus on helping that child be successful.
But
I do think women can do both.
I noticed that most women today, especially educated women, they're very selfish. They're on an ego trip, and they'll rather pretend that or try to prove to themselves that they're equal to men, and they will sacrifice his children just to go to work so that they can get a false sense of whatever, of ego feeling. So they sacrifice the children, and the kids are suffering as a result of women being trying to pretend they're equal to men.
Well, I can tell you, Jesse, I have about 15 what I call really phenomenal, highly educated women in my circle. All of them are, you know, engineers or PhDs or business. I'm probably the only one without the formal degree. And I can tell you, they all have children, they all have grandchildren, they've all been in the career, and they all have strong marriages. And, you know, again, it comes back to that family unit. So, Jesse, we've lost in America the importance of the family unit. That family unit has been decimated because, you know, it's not important. You know, somebody said 20 years ago, you know, a neighborhood can raise your child, some stupid statement like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. I'm sorry, but it doesn't take a village to raise your child. It takes you, and you're committed to raise your child. So I think I'm not sure I've seen that anomaly that you're referring to, but because in my circle, all of us are very highly dedicated to our children, and we've been married 30 plus years.
I noticed that those type of women with all those degrees and working and things like that, they don't make for good wives and good mothers. and they're married to weak men who cannot handle them, and they tend to be out of control and difficult. Do you obey your husband?
So listen, my husband and I work side by side equally as a couple. And if there are times where I need to defer to him and it's a decision he needs to make, I will tell him, baby, you need to help me make this decision and go to God and pray about it and let's make it together. But I'm really interested in your perspective about this decision. But I'm not, we don't see each other. He's not like I'm behind and he's in front. And, we serve equally each other. We serve our children equally. We divide and conquer with our children. We are a family unit, and it takes more than just one person or a mom to raise a family. It takes a father. We're in a
Yeah.
fatherless generation. And so I'm of the opinion, and in my own personal life, it's really been us leading together and making decisions together. If we come at an impasse, Jesse, and we can't make a decision, then, I'll say to him, well, you make the decision, and, it is what it is. But we make decisions together as a couple. And I think it's a healthy marriage and a healthy family unit that I aspire to be.
So do you obey him?
Well, he would probably say I don't obey him.
What do you say?
If he were here. So interestingly enough, he doesn't require me to obey him because he believes I'm in my own independent woman and have my own opinion. He will say, like, babe, I really want you to think about doing this, and he'll try to influence me, and then I'll say, okay. But we don't obey each other. Hey, listen, we obey God and what God says in his word about how we're supposed to live. And then we have, the dialogue together to make sure we're making decisions equally. So
do you obey him?
Okay, so in order to, I'm going to define that. Am I compliant with my husband? Do I listen to him? And the answer to that question is I do listen to my husband. He's a very wise man, and he has a lot of great counsel that he provides me with. So we both equally support each other in that way.
And so do you obey him?
If it comes down to it, yes. If it comes down to that line in the sand, you will find I'm a very peaceful, happy-go-lucky, keep the peace person. So I will say, if he wants to make a decision that is wrong and I go with that decision, he's accountable for that decision, right? And I will come back and say, I told you so.
And so you're a Christian, right?
I am, yes, very, very much so.
And your husband is the head of you.
Our husband is the head of our home in terms of biblical
is your
alignment.
husband the head of you?
Well, I will tell you the way I define that. He is my covering. So anytime here on earth, he's been my protector. He actually loves playing the role of protector for Rebecca. And there's been many cases, and I share them in the book, where he has come in and really provided that protection and that covering that needs to be in a healthy marriage, in a healthy way.
Your head? The head of you?
He's not the head of me, because I have my own head.
but God said that the man is the head of the woman, and that the woman should obey her husband. Do you agree with God on that?
Well, I do, but I think also we have to make sure that there's no overbearance of control there either, right? So when a woman is controlled by a husband or a male, it makes it very difficult for her to thrive or be successful. My husband is not that way. So it's very easy. It's very easy to obey him, because he is a very engaging man who comes to me and we talk through situations. So I don't have to worry about having to obey him.
When men don't control their wives, they go out of control. Women tend to go out of control when the husbands are not controlling them. If you look around with your friends and the women that work for you with those degrees and they are married, they're out of control because the husbands are weak.
Well, I don't, as I said, I have about 15 women in my circle, and they're all very strong, and their marriages are very strong. So I haven't seen that, but I have seen, Jesse, what you're referring to. I have seen that sometimes in the community, and there is chaos sometimes.
Yeah.
And, I think it's important to normalize the home and to stabilize the home with a healthy approach to how a man and a woman are going to work together, because the issues with children are so big, as you know. We've gone through a few with our own children, and it takes two people praying together and in agreement together on the approach on how to
That's
raise that child.
yeah. That's why the woman and the children, they need the father there, so the father
So
can
important.
stand between the woman and children, so that the mother does not screw up the children.
Well, in our home, it's been the father providing leadership and
Right.
wisdom, right? David, my husband, provides a lot of wisdom and a lot of leadership. But he would tell you if he were here today that I as his wife also provide leadership and wisdom.
But you
But
can't have
he
but
is the
one
covering.
leader.
He
You
is
can't
the
have but
covering.
one
Yeah,
leader in the home, and that's the man.
yeah,
You have a president and a vice president. You can't have two presidents.
yeah. Well,
Are you the
it's a
vice
plug and
president
play,
or the
right? It's
president?
supporting each other. Yeah, you're right. Somebody needs to be in charge. At the end of the day, somebody has to make a decision. Otherwise, we end up with decisions already.
Right.
But in my world and in my level of influence, where I've grown up, and in my friends, I see a very powerful team when a man and woman come together and raise their children together.
Do you
I love
believe
to
that?
see that family unit.
Do you believe that men and women are equal?
I believe that men and women have equal rights in America and should. We know we don't see that across the world. There are women who are suppressed and abused in other worlds and other countries. But I'm thankful to live in a country where women have equal rights, and we have an ability to influence.
But are men,
Listen,
but what I'm asking is,
I
are
don't wear it
men
on my
not
sleeve.
equal rights? But what I'm asking, are men and women equal?
I believe they are, yes.
But God
And
said they're
God's
not. If the man is over the woman, how can she be equal to the man?
Well, I think we've seen situations in our culture where some men have made some really bad decisions that have hurt a lot of women too. So, women have to have their own brain, Jesse. I mean, women have to use their discernment and in their own thought process have a brain. If you have a man who's being abusive and is not healthy, you're not gonna subject yourself to that. And
But I've
I'm dealing
noticed
with a
that most
situation.
women are more abusive than men are, but they say it's the man is abusive, but they never talk about the abusive woman. And she tends
Yeah.
to be more abusive to the husband and the children, but for some reason it's not talked about. Why is that? It's always, they pretend it's the man when it's really abuse coming from the woman, the mother.
Yeah, I do think abuse can happen both ways. I don't think it's always one way. And it's unfortunate that our society doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
I personally was abused and was significantly abused. My abuser was my mother, and she was mentally ill, and she abused me emotionally, physically, and she called it discipline, but her way of discipline was very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I think men and women both are in the home have to be healthy and raise healthy children. And listen, we've been married almost 34 years, and there's a reason why we're still married.
Are
And
you, do
it's
you,
not because I'm constantly fighting my husband for control, or he's constantly fighting me for control. It's because we're working together, Jesse, as a family unit called by God to lead our family, and there is a partnership involved.
do you have
That's what's
anger?
missing. No, actually, I'm not. I don't ever deal with anger. I used to deal a lot with shame and embarrassment, mainly from my past. But I have almost 2 decades now overcome that, and I'm very
So you,
confident in who God created me to be.
so you never get angry now?
No, I would say I can get a little irritable, and I tend to be a little short sometimes in my if I'm irritated about something,
But
or something pisses me off, so to speak. I will get a little short tempered,
but
but I
that's
don't
what
deal
anger
and struggle
is.
with anger.
That comes
I
from
don't I
anger.
don't Yeah, I don't struggle at all with anger. It's not definitely been
But
an issue that
short
I've
temper
grappled
and
with.
snapping like that does come. It's the nature of anger. If you didn't have
Yeah.
anger, you can never get short tempered.
Yeah. Well, I would say I call it more irritability than anything. People irritate me, and I get intolerant sometimes. Especially today, Jesse. There's so much mess and chaos going on.
Let me ask you, then I have so much other things I want to ask you about. How does your husband deal with you when the hell come out of you like that? How does he, how does he
Well,
deal with
the
it?
question should be reversed because he dishes it out more than I do. But
Oh,
we
so the
both
hell come out of
we
him more than it does you?
well, we're very different people. He's a very strong leader, as am I. And we've learned how to communicate. We're learning how to communicate here in our maturity now that we're 34 years in. Everything is every year we do things better. But we do tend to rub each other, sometimes, and go off on each other. And I'll tell you what our strategy is, Jesse. It's a timeout. It's like, okay, timeout. We're both mad. Let's walk away, so we don't end up
What a
verbally
mess.
hurting each other.
Yeah.
Time out. Listen, time out. Sometimes when I'll do the timeout, he's like, "No, I'm not ready for a timeout." Okay, timeout.
Wow. Amazing. Do you believe in the order of God?
I do very much.
Oh, and what's that order?
Well, in humanity here, in terms of our culture, it's submission to the Lord and, to his principles, and aspiring through the fruits of the Spirit and biblical values that he has given us to live by. It's doing right by our neighbor. It's submission to the Lord and his will, and forgiveness of people. I mean, it's all the principles that the Bible teaches us that are so critical to successful living.
But God's order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. Do you believe in that order?
I do. Yeah, obviously. I mean, in my home, we very much have lived by the order of God and the principles of God, and I think that's why we're successful. And I try to tell women that are what I call powerhouse women, because I consider myself a powerhouse woman. I've achieved a lot of success, but Jesse, I don't wear it on my sleeves and walk around pushing people or my husband around with it, right? And so, there's a humility that comes with that I'm very blessed to be where I am, and I'm going to be very intuitive to what I feel the Lord is calling me to do to be successful, not only in my home, but also outside in my community. And I think when we wear our power on our sleeves and we go around pushing people around, that's just not a healthy projection. Um, and you and I both know people like that, and sometimes it can be unhealthy.